Hi, friends. It's Jess. Welcome to day 2 of the 5-day Reconnection Shift. The goal of this series is to empathize with you. It truly is. When I mentioned yesterday that somebody had said to me, "Were you even angry?" I thought to myself, I am not being loud about the emotional parts of this journey. I am not being loud about the emotional pieces of my marriage reconciliation. How we went from completely disconnected, completely on opposite ends of the page to a healthy, thriving marriage that it is today. And that's why I say disconnection doesn't mean broken. It was not easy. And so I want to really pour into this week the emotion piece. And I want you to know that that is so real and so normal and so okay. And you can still come back from feeling angry and resentful. All of the emotions that you're feeling, I can promise you, I felt them too. My goal is to share with you that you have to deeply understand what is going on in your heart before you can ever learn anything. The Reconnect framework is my 32 lesson transformation, start to finish. Everything that I did personally to change my marriage, to change my perspective on things, to change who I was and how I react to things, how I process information, how I love, how I show up in my relationship, not just in my marriage, but as a mom and as a person. I put everything that I learned along the way in that framework. But if I'm being honest, you can't be willing to learn and change if you don't first deeply understand what is going on in your heart. You have to first start there. That's why the basis of everything that I teach is you have to reconnect with yourself first before you can reconnect with your partner. This is emotional honesty. This is moving towards a decision to, you can't want to reconnect with your partner. You can't want a healthy marriage if you're not first working here, working in your heart, working in your mind. So I want you to understand over the next couple of days as we go through this series, this 5-email series, I want you to understand that we're learning about ourselves. This isn't about placing blame on anybody. This isn't about pointing fingers. This is truly about creating an awareness, because that is what is required to change our relationship, to change your future, to change the way that you react and respond, to remove the resentment, to process and release guilt and grief. Those are all things that you can do, but you have to start here. Nobody wakes up one day completely disconnected from their spouse. It usually isn't just one fight, one affair, one thing, serious thing that happens and you're just done. That can happen, and it is a real thing. But many relationships that I connect with talk about growing apart. We've just grown in different directions. We've just grown apart. That is thousands of small moments where you both decided to stop reaching, to stop connecting. And you don't even realize you're doing it. I want you to understand this. For the most part, people don't even realize that they're doing it. They're just living life. They're just experiencing changes and different seasons throughout life. I didn't realize that this is what I was doing. We got married. We had a baby. We bought houses. We experienced grief and loss. We sold a house. We bought another one. It was a gruesome process. We had another baby. We changed jobs. Jimmy went and worked on his own. Like all of this, it was just life. Our disconnect was brewing and growing in the midst of our everyday life, because it looks like small things like, hey, do you want to come work in the garage with me while I have to get this done? No, not really. I'm going to bed early. Do you want to go with me? I'm going to stay up and watch a show. Do you want to see if, my parents will take the kids this weekend and go out? No, I'm going to go to the race. Like it was just little that you don't even think is happening. You don't even in the moment realize what is happening. But when this happens over and over and over and over again, these little decisions, they breed disconnection. Because one of my favorite sayings is that if you are not intentionally pursuing connection, you are intentionally pursuing disconnection. When our marriage was at the lowest point, was at its breaking point when we were separating, I really couldn't pinpoint it to one specific thing other than we had grown apart. We're two different people. It wasn't one massive catastrophe thing over the period of so many years. It was just not being on the same page, choosing to not be on the same page, and not even realizing that that's what you're choosing. When you add enough of these moments up, this is what you get. You get disconnection, where the only natural next step feels like divorce or separation. Because at some point you wake up and you realize, I don't even know who we are anymore. Do I even like this person? What is happening? Because we have this fairy tale vision of what a healthy marriage looks like. They should be thoughtful. They should bring me home flowers, should take me out on a date. This Hallmark Hollywood that society has created as to what a good, thriving, healthy marriage looks like. And therefore, when we don't see it after years of disconnection, after years of not choosing this person and vice versa, we wonder why our marriage doesn't look like that. And we think, well, then it must be bad. It must be over. We must have just grown apart. If you are listening or watching and you are thinking, yeah, this sounds like us, this sounds like me, I want you to know that you are so human, and this unfortunately is so normal. I say this every time I do a video, every time I talk to somebody, every time. Disconnected doesn't mean broken. Your marriage or your relationship is not broken beyond repair. Mine was. I thought mine was. And it took working on me and my heart and my perspective to understand why I was where I was, and realizing that we had let all of these little moments be wasted. All of these choices, when like the dishes and the laundry and all of these things would take precedence over just sitting for 15 minutes with each other, because you're lifing. Life is happening and you're lifing. Tomorrow, I want to go with you somewhere that I think we need to spend more time understanding. This was a very eye-opening piece of my journey, because some of this disconnect has roots that go back a lot further than the start of this relationship. Some of the way that you react and respond to things has nothing to do with your relationship. Tune in tomorrow and I'll explain more.